Good. Okay, let's share a few thoughts on Parshas Bahaloischa. The first thought is an interesting one. We have complaining in this week's parsha. You know, complaining is complaining. We have V'yam Kimisoinanim Rab Oznei Hashem. The people complain bitterly before Hashem, and what happens? Vayishma Hashem. Hashem hears. And what happens when Hashem hears? Vayichar Apoy, Hashem is angry. Vativar bom beish Hashem, and there's a fire. Vateichel b'ksei hamachane. V'asavsov v'shebekir b'yisav. Okay, so Klal Yisrael comes to complain, and Klal Yisrael said, "What mi achilenu baser?" An incredible thing when you think about this for a moment. You have man. Like, come on. God is giving you food every day, and you're turning to Hashem. Oh, give me a steak. Now let's not get us wrong. Steak is super gishmak. You know, there's nothing better than a good piece of steak. But it's mun. It's mun. So there's this, and that's question number one. Question number two, which is the same kash, is who are we talking about? Talking about Yidden. They went through Mitzrayim, Kriyas Yamsuf, Matan Torah. We're talking about people that are beyond. And yet they complained a kasha that always bothers us. That and many answers always suggested. So I have written over here in my notes a Michtam Eliyahu. I don't know if he says a vart. I don't know if he used it to answer this question, or I saw it in another sefer. But the Michtam Eliyahu famously has an idea. It's called givers versus takers. Very famous. Rav Dessler explains that you have a choice in life. You could be giving or you could be taking. That's life. Life is you're either going to be receiving or you're going to be giving. Now, of course, there are times that one has to be receiving. That's just life. It's true. But what is our focus? What are we constantly doing? Are we in the mode of giving or in the mode of receiving? To go one step deeper, what is the reason why we want to be givers? Why is being a giver so important?
So you should never have to take.
So you should never have to take. But beside, the idea is that what is the mode of difference between giving and taking is active versus passive. When I take, I'm passive. I sit there and I receive. When I give, I'm doing something. I'm doing an action. Why is doing action so important? I'm going to blame Rav Dessler for this. I hope he says all the way to the end of this part. If not, someone else tells it too. It's because when you do an action, it changes you as a person. Whereas when you're passive, you don't change. So how does this answer the kasha with Klal Yisrael complaining? The answer is that yes, the Yidden were witnessed Ma'amad Har Sinai, and yes, they saw all the nisim, and maybe they even walked through the Yam. But did they do anything active? No. They sat there and they took it all in. When you do things passively, they don't change you as a person. Now, the reason why this is such a difficult thing to internalize is because, unfortunately, a lot of even the good things we do are passive. And the avoida is if we realize that passive things don't change us. And of course, what are we doing in this world? We're trying to become closer to Hashem. We're trying to become a little bit better. So if we realize that something passive does not change us, we realize we have to make it active. For example, someone goes to a shir. Someone goes to a shir. What is that? He's learning Torah. It's amazing. It's true. And Avada, we don't belittle all the stories, from the Russian refuseniks, or whether it's the stories with the Nazi Germany, that, if you go to a shir and you just sit there and nothing's going on, okay, but you're part of the shir, Hitler didn't differentiate between a yid. That's definitely true, and that's one level. But we're going to the next level here. That, yes, you go to a shir and you're a passive participant, or you could go to a shir and be an active participant. One of the chassidim that was here for Shabbos explained, he said, why it's the chilik between Kinyan and between other shirim. This is what he said. He said, by us, there's tons of shirim, all the different yamis, tons of shirim. He says, but a shir, I'll say it in our nusach now, is your passive. You show up, you listen, and you move on. Other types of shirim, a chabura. Why do we call it a chabura? It's not just the fact that we have a shtickle gishmak. No, it's because we're learning together. That's the difference. Rav Asher Yeli always would say It's almost a joke at this point. You know, he gives a share to 700 people, and they write in the paper a chabura. A chabura. What's a chabura? It's a group of people. What's 700? Quite the group. So the answer by Rav Asher is no. He's talking to the chabura. What's the chabura? Everyone listens to the shir, but then you have the bachrim that connect, that talk to the Rebbe, that are part of yeshiva. That's the chabura. What does that mean? Those are people being active versus being passive. Now it's true. Let's repeat one more time. Passive is also a level. No one should say, "Oh, why go to a shir? Why this?" No. Chas v'shalom, chas v'shalom. But active, and the truth is, we all know this. Famously, it's quoted from the Rambam. It's campaign season again, so we have to remind ourselves. It's quoted from the Rambam that if you have a choice of giving one large sum or many small sums, like the Rambam, you give many small sums. Why? Because every act of giving changes you as a person. Someone could say, 1 second. We said passive versus active. Now we're saying within being active, there are steps. Yes, because you want to change yourself. Giving is hard. Giving is very hard. Every time you stick your hand in your pocket, okay, not stick your hand in your pocket, click the button, swipe the credit card. Each one is an action. It's hard. So says the Rambam, you want to break your nature, you want to go against your grain, you want to change yourself, give and do actions to give. So the Yisoid, the idea that we can learn from the complainers in the Parsha is when we see how far it goes. And of course, the point is not to judge them, but it's to take a lesson for us. Is that if we see that they on the crazy, lofty, high levels that they were, but yet it didn't change them as a person because they didn't do anything for it. We have to realize we have to find ways to create an active involvement in Yiddishkeit. And it's not so hard. And it really just points to all the areas that we shy away from because it's difficult. Well, we'll do something a little more passive. Yeah, I don't mind showing up to this year. It's much easier to actually go and, be involved in this year. I'll sit in the back corner, I'll show my face, I'll do my thing. But to ask a kasha, to say a teretz, or do a chazara, all of a sudden, whoa, now that's too much. I do the yaimi, whatever it is. I check my box. Leave me. When you take it and then you learn it again yourself, now you're making it active. Now you're making it part of you, and that's what changes you as a person. So that's the lesson of the complainers, and it's a real avodah. It's a real avodah. We can elaborate on this for hours, for days, for years. Suffice it to say, we all know what we're talking about. We all know the areas where we can try harder, and Amir Hashem, we should be zeich.